Hello everybody. If you watched our previous videos, you'll see that we had a couple of barrel projects. Here they are here. We made a couple of end tables. So we had quite a few pieces left over, and I did that on purpose because I wanted longer pieces of the staves. But this was a barrel that was cut in half, and then we have the cutouts. And unfortunately, this barrel had some splitting of the wood on the inside, and there's some areas that were unusable, but I picked through it and I found, and you can see here's all the pieces we had. We had some mold which I don't want to use, so I'll discard that, and that'll be firewood. And there's some pieces that I've split apart like these ones, and they're beyond use. So what I've done is just pick through the ones I wanted, and I've made a jig here, a stop block on either side, so whenever I put the barrel staves together in place, it'll keep the arc. And on staves, it's only the outside that comes together, not the inside. Like they're not angled so that they fit all the way along. It's just the outside leading edge of the exterior of the barrel that will match up. So I just put like I said, a stop block that will put pressure on it, and then I'll continue to make my marks. So I have a center mark there. You can see I've already did a dry fit, and then I'll pressure it in. So I'm just making a lineal mark all the way along the boards. And you don't have to be too awful accurate in this. So what I'm going to do is put use dowels, a 3/8 dowel, but I'm going to go with a loose fit because they're curved. So I'm going to do a pilot hole here, and this is an oversized hole, so they're 1/16 bigger. You can see that it'll move around. So we'll drill all our holes, and then what we'll do is we'll fill the cavities with epoxy. And then once the epoxy goes hard, it'll bond it together, and that'll just stop them from curving out again, because there's not a lot of glue surface on them. So here I am just drilling the holes, made all my marks. Make sure you have a really tight area to hang on to these, and a nice sharp bit. This old oak is quite hard, so I've just sharpened my bit. You can see it's doing a good job. And I'm making the holes a little bit deeper than I need it, because I want to get some epoxy filled in there, and then that'll create strength all the way through. So I'll continue all the way through and get the rest of my holes done. And like I was saying, they're an oversized hole, and I'm just going to do a dry fit here. Make sure everything lines up right, and I put an X at the top so I don't get them right to left and left to right. And everything fit, so we'll just take them apart, and you can see how the loose fitting dowel works. And there's all my pieces all laid out and ready for the gluing to be done. I'm happy with that fit. So what I'll do is take them apart and then make up my epoxy. And we're also adding thickening agent, which is a bonding agent as well, to the epoxy. And we'll fill the holes, and we have some in different sizes, so I'm just making sure we have the right size. And there's the epoxy I'm using, West Systems, or whatever you have in your shop, or whatever you have access to. And this is a high density adhesive filler that I'm adding to it, and I'm using a 105, with a hardener. And I'm just making sure that's mixed up well before we add. Just getting a nice liberal bead on it and making sure that the holes are filled. And popsicles work good to apply this. You can see with the high density filler in the epoxy, it all does a good job of the holes. I'm just making sure that they're turned around in there whenever I put them in, and well coated. And once this goes hard and bonds, this will stops the boards from flattening out or coming apart. I'm just making sure that I'm getting a good quantity on it. I'll continue all the way along. If you notice, I put the glue towards the outside leading edge because that is the area that touches. Now I'll just take a small plane and a spoke shave, and I like using hand tools in this because it will show the marks in the wood and stuff, and it's rather than sanding it. I'm not trying to make furniture, I'm trying to make a serving tray, but I want it to look like it came from a barrel. So if you want to call it rustic, it is. I like using pieces of cardboard because they'll bend around the top of the barrel, and that can make my marks. And then I can transfer those marks. So if you're, and then I'll draw a circle for the top. I've made 4 different styles of boards, and some have square ends, some are tapered on the side, some are round, and I've made my templates. So like I said, you can't do this with a square, but you can do it on with a piece of cardboard. And just make sure that your cardboard is square, and you can wrap it around, and that'll be your cutoff marks. And I found the best way, I have a couple of bandsaws, but the easiest and safest way is with a jigsaw. And on this I used paraffin wax on the blade too. It really helps the cutting through the hard oak. And this one will just have square ends. And then we'll sand them off and just give them a little airs on the side. And you have to have a sharp blade on this oak. So there's the inside. So on one, what I want to do is fill the groove so it's solid on the inside. And so what I'm going to use is Bondo with a hardener. And I want it black, so I'm using black chalk. And if, you can either use black chalk or graphite. I decided I had way too much filler. So I'm just going to knock it back a bit. Add about an inch line of hardener, cream hardener that comes with it. And before you use your hardener, always knead it. Get rid of any liquids in the top, because if you don't use it on a regular basis, it is going to separate. I just put a big dab in the top there. I'll mix that up, and then I'll take some black chalk, and that just goes right on top. I'll just mix that right in. I've taped off the barrel as well, as you can see where I'm putting the Bondo. That's because the inside is actually quite porous. And I don't want all this going into the pores in the side and having sides sanded out. So I've taped it and just left the gaps. And that's just normal painter's tape. And what I'll do is just mix this up. And this will work with any color chalk or any kind of a chalk pigment. You can mix it in with mono or epoxy. What's nice about this will dry. You want it a bit darker. It's a gray, so just showing you the chalk. And this will come out a really nice dark color. And what's really nice about this, sands easily. Dry in about 10 minutes so that I can take the tape off of it. I'll accelerate the drying process with some heat, but it will kick off quickly. There, that's coming out nice. That's a nice color. I'm using a pliable putty spatula, or automotive, what they use. They call them automotive spatula, but it'll bend into the curvature of the inside. So I'll apply it on and push that down into the joint. And be careful not to get it up on the stuff that's not painted, or not, excuse me, taped. Just get that down into the joint. These flexible applicators are definitely the way to go. They're inexpensive. You can get a package of them for a couple of bucks. I think you get 5 different sizes. And if it's not quite the right size, you can actually take a pair of scissors or a knife and cut it to shape. Whenever I see them on sale or somewhere, I'll grab a bunch of them. I've yet to see them at the dollar store, but they probably are different ones. But this will get right into that concave area. Just making sure it's all filled. Just checking the ends. This will add strength as well. So once this cavity is filled with this, I'll be doing 2 of them. I'll be filling the joint, and that one beside there, I think I'm going to leave it open so that you can actually see the staves of the barrel to see what it looks like. This is a first time for me on all these, so but these will end up being Christmas presentation gifts, so we'll load them up with some stuff and cover them up and gift them out. So I'm just adding some heat to it here to get it to kick off. And it kicks off pretty quickly. And you don't want to stay in one area too long. It'll bubble up on you. So and I don't have the heat on in our building today, so it's a little cooler. And then what I like to do is take my fingernail and press it into the areas that are filled. And if it leaves an indentation, or if you can dig into it, it's not wait a couple minutes longer. But it's set enough. And then when I'm peeling my tape, I peel towards the fill or the joint. So that if it's bonded over top of the tape, it'll fall along into the joint rather than pulling it away. You can see the beautiful hue and color of the inside of these wine barrels. And this hasn't even been sanded or sealed or anything yet. So once I do get and I'll be using an oil for the inside, mineral oil, and then my last coat of mineral oil, I add wax to it. So I'll show you how I add the wax to it. But this worked out good on the joints. And what I like about it is very quick. You don't have to wait overnight or anything. It's a 10 or 15 minute wait. And you can add any colors, or you can even go natural gray. There we go. You can see how it's all filled. And I'll just wait for a minute, and then I'll give that a quick sand on the inside. I'll use an orbital sander. There's one not filled, and there's one beside it filled. Just checking to make sure they're hard enough before I sand, and they are. And you can get a washer too and push it in, but your fingernail works good. I'm starting off with 100 grit. And that's just to take any bumps or anything down. And then I'll progress up to 180. That's as high as I'll go on these. I don't want to take off too much of the color. One of the pieces I had there, I had a lot of fragmented pieces in it, but I should be able to repair that. What I'll probably do is use some crazy glue, CA glue, and put it in some of the cracks there. There's the one I'm sanding on. There's a long crack there, and what I'll do is I'll put in some medium body CA glue and then sand over top of that. And that should fill that crack. Here. There's the outside. We just gave that a quick sand, not too much, because I don't want to remove the a lot of the marks or a lot of the patina on them. So I'm just going to spray some sanding sealer. This oak is quite porous. So what the sanding sealer will do, will seal off the grain, and then we can give that a quick sand and then apply oil to it. On these barrels, I notice there's a lot of the oak was quarter sawn cuts. So you actually get a lot of pattern in the wood, which is quite nice. You see it there, the outside piece is quarter sawn. And once that dries, I'll do the inside. I made a couple of cradles to set it on. So there's the inside. It's all been sanded out. So I've sanded it to 150. And I'll put a really good liberal amount of sanding sealer on these, because the inside of them are really, really porous. So you want to get some fill in there. And here's some other boards. I'm cutting some, this was the stave hoops that were left over as well. So I've cut them down size, and I'll paint them flat black. And there's different patterns You see square ends and longer, so I made 3 different patterns. 2 of them I filled and 1 I've left to open, but they're all on saddles. So I've sanded off the sanding sealer with 150. And now I'm just putting a really liberal amount of mineral oil on top. And I'll leave this overnight. I'll just flood the pieces and just let them sit overnight and really let that sink in. And then we'll give them a wipe off tomorrow morning. And make sure I do the ends, seal it all off. And I'm not too worried about the dust on the bench because we'll be buffing these all off. Okay, so here we are the next day. So what I've done is poured some mineral oil into a container, separate container, used a torch and melted out some paraffin wax. And then I'll just give that a stir. That's probably about 10% paraffin wax to oil. And so I've wiped off all the excess from the night before. And then we'll just apply this and then buff it out. And just give it a really good mixing with the oil. If you notice, that's my mineral oil jar, and what I've done is I bonded a can to the top of it for my rag to go in for the mineral oil. So you can see that I took the paraffin wax and just put it in. If I had any grains that were really deep, what I've done is just run the wax into it in a heavier density. I'll just buff that in. You see, it's almost like a cream, but you can see that it's already bringing out the sheen. And I'll work that quite liberally, and what I'm trying to do is fill that grain. And I end up giving these probably 4 different coats. And what I like to do is just run a torch over it, and what that'll do is just add some heat to it. And they'll melt it down into the grain. I'm really happy with the inside color of the barrels and the wood. It's just beautiful. Mother Nature. It's hard to duplicate that by hand. Those are all done, and that one's all been coated. So we'll just continue to coat them. And then while they're still wet, I'll take a 4/0 steel wool, and I always like to unravel my steel wool. And if the wax has brought up any of the end grain or any of the grain, the steel wool will cut it and knock it down. I'll give it a bit of a hard shell. You can tell just by running the steel wool on the wood as you're working it. It'll get easier and easier to run across the wood because you're getting a buff surface. But if you notice, it's starting to sheen up and shine, and I'll do the outside too. And then we'll let that dry a little bit after I'm all done that, and then we'll take it and give it a buff. I like to put multiple layers on. And here I am just sizing up the base. So I've just taken an 1/8 inch piece of hardboard, cut that out, and what I've done is cut a couple of 9.5 inch blocks for this piece. And the outside edges of it, I've just given it a 10 degrees angle cut. And that'll be the sides. So we'll just notch that out. And we're going to be raising this board up. So I'll just took those to the bandsaw, cut them out. And so these will be a saddle, but I want a 3/8 gap between that, so I won't want this basically to look like it's floating in the air. And we'll run, and also I don't want to go flat on the bottom, so I want that concave in the bottom so that it's only resting on the 4 outside legs. I'm just lining it up here to get my marks. So I've set these up so that the outside leading edge is 12 inches apart. And I'll measure that up and get them in. So I'll be drilling all the way through. I'm using 3/8 dowel, and careful not to go all the way through. I want to drill from both sides because I don't want to blow out the hole. So there's a nice clean hole. And then what we'll do is just lay those on. So I marked it out with some tape where it's going to go. And I have a set tape on the bottom. I'll just take that off. You see there's one side. Whenever I'm doing holes, I'll put a dowel through one side as a set. And then I'll line up my piece and then do the following hole so that it's not sliding around and moving. Be very careful not to go all the way through. So these will be going like that, and they'll be going right through the saddle, the legs on the bottom. And I have some glue on them, so I'll glue them and drive them all the way through into the holes that are on the tray. You can see I've cut some 3/8 blocks, and I've just those are just set blocks. They'll go on the outside leading edges, so I know how far to tap down the dowels. And then once I get it in place, I'll just let the glue set up a little bit, and then I'll cut off the excess at the top. You can see them sticking out of the top. And I'll just cut that off with a trim saw, and then give it a sand. I'm just checking my depth again. Got them all in and glued. There it is there, and you can see the gap underneath. And what I've done is I've raised it up. Now I'm using, this is using a high-speed drill here to polish this out. This is a hair buffer, and now that the wax and oils had a chance to dry, this will give it a really, really nice sheen. Whenever we oil anything and wax it, we always use these hair buffers. They're just like your father's, your grandfather's shoe polisher. Nothing brings out a shine like these. And because it's concave, it's easy to get into. But you can see that natural sheen. It's hard to get this on the camera, but they came out really, really nice. So there it is there, and there's the barrel that the pieces came out of. So I'll end up getting 5 of these, plus the 2 barrels out of 1 barrel. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, please subscribe, and we got some coming up. And if you want to see these barrel tables, there are a couple of videos before. I'll be doing some different tops on them too. I'm going to add some tops to these barrels, decorative tops. But there's the tray, and it came out quite nice. So thanks again for watching, and see you on the next one. Please subscribe.